Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Highways and General Purposes meeting on Wednesday, the 12th of February 2025 at the Old School. First item on the agenda is apologies. And we've had apologies from Councillor Clay and Stallard. Sorry, I always do that. Apologies, Mark. And from Councillor Scholey. Okay, declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest on any items on the agenda? No, notwithstanding, we can declare them later. Minutes of the previous meeting. So to confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the Highways and General Purposes meeting on the 27th of November 2024. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes? Are you happy for me to sign? Show of hands. Yep, thank you. I'll just write the date out. That's it. Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is the Highways and General Purposes Committee Project Report. I've recently gone through this with Liz, and there's a lot of stuff that she's updating, so we'll bring that to the next meeting, hopefully with some more progress on items on the list. Item 5 is public participation, and we do not have any members of the public. So we will move to item 6, which is the bus shelter seating. A quote has been received in respect of the bus shelter seating to consider and determine action. This was raised by a member of Hambledon Parish Council, I think it was, that a member of someone from Hambledon who comes to the village weekly, and there was nowhere for them to sit on the bus stops. We had it on the last agenda, and we asked for quotes. As you can see there, so it's the £393 as a total.
And that's the colour green chair.
Thank you.
Nice.
Councillor West. Okay. And that will be for both bus shelters we're doing it on, isn't it? One of them will obviously go on the new shelter when it goes in there. This is for one at the moment, yes. Yeah. So obviously it will be the same price to put it on the other one. But we obviously couldn't put it on the damaged one at the moment. But that has now, we have received the funding for that one. Are we happy to put the seating on both? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Item 7 is damage to the bus shelter. They have actually sent us the money today and have settled the claim. So that will be underway for being replaced as soon as we can get it booked in. Okay. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Can I just query, so Zurich have settled, are they pursuing the person that
Yes.
caused the damage? They
Yes.
are, okay, thank you.
Item 8 on the agenda, Liz has not had anything back from the 2 contacts that we've had. I don't know who is their boss. I can't remember who their line manager or their manager is. Because it's Winchester, effectively, isn't it?
It's Hampshire.
Sorry, Hampshire, yeah. Because I think we need to pass this up the chain now, because it's just dragging and dragging. Councillor Andrea.
I was asked the other day by 2 residents what was happening. I said that we'd been told it would be in February 2025, but there was no sign so far.
No.
So Lucy Whittington is the contact.
Yeah, that's who Liz has been contacting.
So prior to Lucy was in contact with someone else. I can
Somebody
get
called Alfred, somebody as well.
Alfred Naughty.
Yeah, that's who Liz is trying to get hold of. They've not responded. Can we,
Would you like me to?
if you can do it as a district councillor, if you can find someone for us and pass on to Liz, or if you want to, if everyone's happy with that we try and chase this because it's now ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone happy with that? Yeah. And if you can find details, and if you can obviously inform Liz of the details. Item 9 can be removed because alternative arrangements have been, since the agenda went out, alternative arrangements have been done for that item. So there's no need for that item. Item 10, defibrillator at World's End. Grant application, we submitted, Liz submitted one to the Department of Health and Social Care, which their period for funding is closed, but we're still waiting to hear back on British Heart Foundation. So that will hopefully we'll get news on that before the next meeting. Okay, that was to note. Item 11 is a service level agreement for Currans and Ben Lee. It's due for renewal in 2025. Does anyone have any comments on the two that we've got at the moment? They're effectively the same document. They're
Can I say something?
yeah.
I noticed on the back page that Currans, it says 800, it should say 1,000, but Bentley for a single deck says 1,500. I wondered why the difference. So it might not be the same for that page. So Bentley says 1,800, Currans says 800, which is wrong, it should be 1,000.
Okay.
Sorry, 1,500.
The only thing I can think with that is that it's a single depth and a double depth, isn't it?
That one's a single.
And that's a single. I think the only thing I can think it is because they are actual grave diggers. These are ground workers. Councillor West, if you have.
Yeah, there's a couple of things on it really. One is obviously the name, contact details, Joe, and it's changed.
Yeah.
Two, question why we're showing the measurements in inches rather than metric. And three was, third one was under the half service level agreement on the Bentley one. It says that we are to top up the grades and dress the grade with topsoil and grass seed. On the current one, it says that we're to manage, we manage the spoil heap and then top up the grade and dress. So why are we managing the spoil on one and not on the other?
Yeah, I think the difference is that on Bentley they remove the spoil, but Currans don't remove the spoil.
I thought
Which
we
is probably the difference in costing. We pay for it, that's why we're paying extra. So that's a fair bit of money, it's £700 difference.
yeah.
Yeah, Currans say to manage the spoil heap, Chair.
They're all supposed.
Bentley say to remove the spoil heap on an ad hoc basis throughout the
But we
year.
pay for that.
As does say that's an additional cost.
Yeah, so we're managing on one and not on the other, and we're paying twice as much for one than the other.
Well, as far as I was aware, they were all supposed to be now removing the spoil heaps from the burial ground and taking them to Kidmore Lane car park inside the yard. We can get
excess soil to the designated area,
Yeah.
which would be Kidmore Car Park.
That's on both of them,
Yeah.
yeah. Farms is designated there, not is it managed there, so they're all doing the same, and different price.
Sorry, Councillor Andreoli.
I'm sure we have something in there about backfilling with gravel. I missed it.
No, well, this is the opportunity for these to
Yeah.
go in there. It's we've never yet been able to get a meeting with either gravedigger to discuss, because there's the Councillor West and I were going to meet with them about backfilling. And we haven't so far been able to get a time when they've been digging a grave. Can I suggest that we postpone this until the next meeting, and we will get some answers as into the costs and things on there, and obviously do some of the amendments that point to contact and things like that, and the measurements can be put on there in metric and in imperial if needs be. But it may well be that gravediggers still work in metric. I know it sounds mad, but if everyone's happy with that, Councillor Langford-Smith.
Can I also just request that when we look at the service level requirements from DPC, that list reflects our actual working practice, because I know we changed it so that if, for example, it's an interment of ashes within a plot, we actually now provide a marked grave with that, where the relatives want the interment to take place.
We provide a picture of the
A marked up
yes,
of the
marked
plot,
up.
so I think that needs to be in our instructions.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any comments at the moment?
And so just comment on our service level agreement with the idea of service level agreement is you give time scale, so it's like we will do this in 24 hours, we'll do that in 24 hours. To actually say give as much notice as possible. Not with this service level agreement, it's like
This is obviously, it depends when burials happen. I mean, we could set a timescale and say that they can only happen a minimum of 2 weeks afterwards, but
we must get, we don't get asked today to bury someone tomorrow. There's a process in it, in that process. From the time you get inquiry to the time the burial takes place, there must be a set amount of time for you to do paperwork, agree, so that could be 14 days rather than so. Therefore, our service level agreement should say, give me my service person. We should almost give them that the day we know.
A minimum of 5 days or whatever.
Or the day after, so they know. Because the last thing you want to do is agree to get a burial 14 days, then go to a grave digger, so actually no more business somewhere else. So I think we need to put a time scale. That's the idea of a service level. You've got that time scale there, and then they're signing to agree that date that we're giving is what they're getting work to as well. Because although it's our agreement, it's our service level, so then they're agreeing to abide by it.
yeah.
Can I just ask why we haven't met with them? Because they are working on our behalf, so surely we should have had sort of like,
It's a timing issue between Councillor West, myself, and the gravediggers being able to get there. That's
It's not it's
No,
not
no,
missing
no.
you guys, it's just, I just think that, they're charging us money and we're, we should sort of at least meet with them, shouldn't we?
We should.
Or, they should be more, they should be more- but they should be more flexible in wanting to meet with us, because it's
but there's no point in them us meeting with them unless we can tie up effectively all three parties when they're digging a grave.
Does it have to be when they're digging the grave?
Yeah, because part of it is talking about backfilling
process,
and things like that. So that was.
I just think the pressure needs to be put on them to, be more flexible with you guys in terms of digging a grave, really. And being up there, because I think we're paying them, but we're clearly a little bit at odds with the service that they're providing.
Well, it's not the service they're providing; it's just
Well, the agreement,
Yeah, but the service they're providing, we haven't got a problem with, apart from the backfilling side of things. Is my point.
And the price.
well, that's come up in this now, obviously, and there will be a reason why the prices are how they are, and it could well be because Ben Lees is a ground workers, they're not a grave diggers, and that is probably what they came in at, and that's because Currans wouldn't dig a double depth grave, which is why we went to Ben Lees in the first place, and I think that's how that cost difference has occurred. Because we had no choice. We went round to other undertakers, other people like Currans, and we couldn't find anyone else to take it on, which is why we also bought the equipment for them to be able to dig double depth. But Currans are also still saying that they won't dig to double depth.
So what's the issue about double depth?
Because of they said it was a safety issue for digging of collapsing, which is why we bought the shoring, so that could be done.
Okay.
Councillor Langford
Yeah, I
Smith.
think we agreed the additional cost for the ground workers, because the alternative is that we use burial plots twice as quick, because instead of having 2 people in one, they each require one, and we're using up grave space more quickly, so we agreed to.
Which is also why we increased the price of the burials as well. To sounds horrible, but try and discourage people from having burials and to try and
There are
push.
still people that want to be
Yeah.
buried right now, so, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so they would, now the first year they've done it, so they wouldn't know what they're getting into as such. But now they'll have for a reprice, they might realise that what they're doing is a lot easier than what they thought.
Yeah. Okay. If we can send any comments on this through to Liz and I, and then we'll go through it and then go back to the 2 parties, and then we'll bring it back to the next meeting. Councillor Andrew.
Would hurt, I suggest, for Liz to talk to them in the meantime and get their prices.
Yes.
Their ongoing prices, otherwise we delay it again.
Yeah. No, that I intend that with all your inputs, we'll bring another document back with all the amends on it and with justification for the costs as well. Everyone happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Flower bed sponsorships. 4 businesses in Denmead have agreed to continue the sponsorships. A flyer has been placed on Facebook for potential sponsors to discuss and determine action. My thought with this was that one, we have some plaques made up to say supplied by Denmead Parish Council or words to that effect. So we've got something on there to say they're ours, and also potentially a sign to say sponsor this flower bed, or that, something so that we can advertise it actually on them. I don't know if that makes sense to people. Or don't all say quiet. Councillor Langford Smith.
Having done the sponsorship proposal in the first place back in 2015, I'm happy the beds are sponsored. I agree with putting a sign on the planters saying provided by Denmead Parish Council. I'm not keen on the idea of saying available to sponsor, please ring, or whatever. If people want to sponsor them, they will know that they belong to the parish council. We advertise it in Denmead Scene. So it's just my personal preference.
Okay. Councillor Andrew.
I tend to agree with that, especially as they'll see the other ones marked sponsored and say, oh, what can we sponsor if they want to? Yeah. So,
Anyone else?
What happens to the unsponsored ones? Do they only get a few flowers?
No, they get planted up exactly the same way. Normally speed planting by Councillor Langford Smith.
Well, it's sort of like this little gap.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. On the ones that are unsponsored, that we put a sign to say that they are done by Denmead Parish Council, and to fill them up so that they're not empty. It will cost us to have the signs made, but I just think leaving them empty just doesn't look good.
So it's dustbin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean empty as in not planted. They're always planted anyway.
Just a nice parish logo on them.
Yeah.
Look good. Look good.
There's that proposal.
Yeah.
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 I'll second
Second.
it.
So the seconded proposal to put the logo of the parish council on there. It's applied by the parish council. Yep, everyone, that was unanimous. Item 13. Item 13 is the public toilets at Kidmore Car Park. Information received from Winchester City Council. This was a meeting that was due to be held when Joe was actually still here, our previous clerk to the committee. There was a mix-up and no councillors were invited or were at the meeting, but the meeting went ahead. It's basically the same, they are saying exactly the same thing in that they want us to take the toilets over, or their thing is that basically the costs are going to increase to 225,000 from 170. That's obviously not for just our toilet. That is for the contract for Wheaton's, who are the ones that clean it. As far as I'm aware, we made a resolution not within 6 months that we were not going to take these toilets over, and we can't go against that unless there was a 5 councillor motion. So at the moment, our resolution previous stands. Councillor Langford Smith.
With devolution, Chair, it's possible that they might be looking longer term at their contracts anyway, and it's possible that Hampshire would have to take over all of those services across the whole district, or whatever the unitary authority is. At the moment, everything is up in the air, so we just don't know. They have said that they would be happy to lease the car park to us. I don't see why we would pay them to lease the car park. That's, to me, that just seems a nonsense. So, I mean, the purpose of the discussion originally, my thought was that if they were willing to transfer it to the parish, we could make sure it stayed free, because there was conversation going around about the fact of introducing charges at car parks, and I wanted to make sure that it stayed free to support the businesses in the village. I can't see why we would lease it.
No. Councillor Andrew.
I agree, because I mean they're basically saying that WCC can transfer the asset, i.e. the toilets, to Denby Parish Council, but not the land it sits on or the surrounding car park. Yeah.
Next thing will be a charge us ground rent for it.
The whole expectation when this council took on 50% of the cost of the cleaning of the maintenance of the toilets was that sooner or later we knew Winchester would come back to us and say, we want you to take them, and then our position at the time would have been, okay, give us the car park as well. But I think it's still the intention of the council, not lease it.
Okay, so as I say, the resolution still stands, and we won't take them, and we wait to see what devolution brings anyway, and I don't think we would make any change to that decision at the moment.
At a different meeting on Monday, Chair District Councillor Neil Cutler mentioned Kidmore Car Park again as a possible asset that might be transferred in the future to because Winchester as currently devolution plans, Winchester City Council will not exist.
Yes.
So,
okay, moving on to item 14 is Kidmore Car Park. The car park continues to flood. Winchester City Council are working on it. To note, for Councillor Langford Smith, you have an update, I think, don't you?
I appreciate that it's to note, Chair, but yes, I do. I was approached by residents in my role as District Councillor, so I called a meeting with Winchester and with Persimmon and met them on site. Subsequently, Winchester called the drainage people in to the car park. They checked the drain in the car park, which they made sure was free flowing, so that it is draining. The problem was when they made sure it was clear and they sucked water away, water was then coming from the road into the car park. So whilst we were on site, there was discussion about the fact that it was splashing over the pavement and filling the car park. That was not the case, but the case is the fact that it's coming from the road through the drain because the car park is lower than the road, and therefore naturally the drain is backfilling into the car park. That is what the drainage chap who was from the tanker, and they took 2 tankers worth of water away, but it just drained straight back from the road into the car park, is how it was described to me.
I don't see how that works. The road may be lower, the drain's not
The
off the road.
car park's lower.
Yeah, the car park's lower. But the drain is below the road, it's not sitting on top of it. I mean, that drain would be, I don't know, it was contradictory to have 2 foot to 600 deep. Even deeper than that. But, so it's not going to do that. If it was anything, it's filling up and that, it then becomes some water issue if the drain not big enough.
Well, what they're saying is it's a Hampshire issue because the drain on the corner of Kidmore Lane is blocked, and that is the main highway drain. And when Darren has worked on that previously, because he used to be the drainage person at Hampshire, it's the tree roots. And every couple of years, they need to come and dig out the tree roots from the drains because it's the tree roots that block. And I am inclined to believe that because when I do the planters on that corner planter, every other year I have to ask the ground staff to dig out all the soil in there because I can't even get a trowel in there because it's absolutely solid with tree roots. They come up through the bottom of the planter and literally solidify the planter, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did the same in the drain.
The problem they're getting is they're not actually fixing the problem.
No, they're not.
All they're doing is probably jetting the drain clear, I presume, and cutting the roots, but it's not actually repairing it.
Well, it's not repairing it. The only way of doing that would be to get rid of the tree.
Well, no, it would be to take the drain, dig the drain up and repair it properly, I would have thought.
The tree was still right for it, yeah, it's less for sure, isn't it? Remove the tree.
Okay, we will await. There are plenty of comments about ponds and things in the car park on Facebook, and yes, yes. I seem to remember also there was, yeah, that's okay. I'll strike what I was going to say there. Item 15 is flag flying days. To approve the flag flying days for 2025. Councillor Lancashire-Smith.
On the list, we've got the 80th anniversary of D-Day. That was last year.
Sorry.
That's okay. And in previous, not recent years, but previously, when we had, we put Sunday the 9th of November and Tuesday the 11th of November, so both Remembrance Sunday and Armistice Day, we had a little star by them and said flag will be lowered at 11 a.m. So I don't know if you want to add that back in.
On which one, sorry, Paul?
On Remembrance Day and Armistice Day.
Both the same.
Yeah.
Thank you. Flag will be lowered at 11 a.m.
Any other comments on it? No? Okay, so is everyone, in show of hands for everyone in favour of, with the amendment that Councillor Lancashire-Smith has just made, that we use these flag flying days? That's unanimous as well. And can you make sure that information gets passed on to Sam as well?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Item 16 is wheelie bins at Goodman Fields. New wheelie bins and fixing has been purchased and installed, to note. Do we know if they've got round to removing the other bins yet, Liz?
No, they haven't.
They're still?
They haven't. I was up there this morning.
Okay. Can you ask Sam to do that as soon as possible, because we don't want the R2 bins getting filled up again, because then they'll start charging us for even more.
Okay, you move over to
Yeah.
Have we got somewhere for those bins to go, Chair?
We need to see the condition of them, but there are places for them to go. They've been in there a while, so one of them's newer than the other one, but they've been in there a while, so we need to see what they're like first. Okay, item 17 is the burial ground applications. 17.1 is applications. To note the list of applications since the last committee meeting. 17.2, working party, to consider a request by a member of the public to create a working party for the burial ground maintenance, to discuss and determine action. So we have Liz emailed round to a few burial grounds and cemeteries in the area, and what's in your email is the responses that they got from them. The only thing I would note is a lot of the ones that they have people working in them tend to be closed cemeteries, so they're full cemeteries. So they're not actually having new interment put in there. Comments, anyone? Councillor Langford-Smith.
Yeah, the Friends of Southampton Old Cemetery actually do walks through the cemetery for things like the Titanic. So sort of historic walks, which I thought was quite interesting. They do still have burials, but only up to about 6 a year, and that's in existing plots, so in effect it's not really a working burial ground. The Friends of Havant do work on things like notice boards and new hedge planting and things. It's not sort of general maintenance of the burial ground. I think it's interesting to note that the people that requested this haven't attended a single meeting since they requested it.
Yeah.
I
Councillor Vickers.
sort of have a slightly different view. I think it needs to, I'm not saying we agree it or disagree, but I think it needs to go out to see if there is a, is a appetite for people doing it. I think it, if it, if all things being equal, it could be agreed with the insurance and stuff like that. Just a proposal, maybe in the village scene or something like that, to see if there is an appetite for it. If there isn't, then we've got our answer. If there is, then we can look at it and see whether it is viable with insurance and public liability and all the things that go with it.
I actually think, sorry to cut across you, I think you need to go the other way round. We need to check that we can do it first before.
Either way.
Only for the fact is, if we go out there and say, do you want to do it? We get a load of people that come and say, yes, we want to do it. And then we then say, well, you can't do it. It's worse on it looks worse on us for going that way round. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I'm just thinking, actually, you're saying that we have had precedent before of people working on parish land in the village, and that was with Denmead and Bloom. So they worked on the flower beds and things like that, but they had their own insurance. They took out their own insurance.
They also, they took out their own insurance. There was a thing on Radio 2 the other day about this very subject about people working in burial grounds, and a lot of councils were stopping people from working in them. Some of it was under health and safety of using tools and things in the burial ground, and also the potential damage that could be caused to headstones and things like that, and who would be liable for it. Councillor West.
And I think what is the benefit? Again, not sounding wrong, but apart from people feeling good to have this for doing something, what is the parish going to get out? Because they're not going to go and cut the grass as we do that. We're going to do a bit of litter picking. I don't know what else they do, because they're not going to remove stuff off the grave. And I think this is what a lot of that came about. If they were unhappy about items being left and removed off the grave, and my impression at the time was I thought if they could get together as a line moving there, they would almost make that decision what got moved, when it got moved, and how it got moved. So they won't be doing that. They won't be cutting grass. There's no painting and decorating to do. There's no flowers to water. So I don't know what is the benefit. And then we have to provide an insurance for it. And then on top of the insurance, there will have to be risk assessments done, method statements done out. I reckon rules put into place of do's and don'ts. So it's going to cost us time, effort, and money for negative gain.
I don't think there always has to be like a massive gain. I think it's about hearts and minds, it's about people investing in the burial ground, it's about having a pride in it, it's about being a community. I don't necessarily think that everything has to be judged on the bottom line of the gain. I think the gain is sort of involvement by the local community for something that is a very important asset into the village.
I think Councillor West's point was the fact is that we are doing virtually everything in the burial ground. So what is there left effectively for? Because people can go up and tend their own headstone anyway. They can, keep it clean and things like that. So I don't. As you say, we cut the grass, we do the hedges. We are removing stuff from the graves now as a resolution of council. It does make you wonder what there is that anyone is going to be able to do.
I completely understood what Councillor West was saying, but I was just making the point that it is just about a community asset. People need to feel part of that. I think when you when you bring people along with you, and I think sort of those difficult conversations that need to be had would be better placed rather than the furore that happened before, would be that, people have got a sort of, they feel that they've got some sort of level of involvement in it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I can't say too much about the project, Chair, but I would like to think in the near future we would have projects available where people can come along and help us dig ponds and help us plant trees and hedgerow and things like that. And I think that would be an ideal opportunity for us to involve the community in those kind of projects. So if we do have an area where we know that we need to do new hedge planting, possibly along Forest Road and things like that, we can go out to the community and say, we've got trees, can we have a group of volunteers to come and help us plant the trees and things on a project by project basis?
I understand what you're saying, but that's not what we're talking about here. This was an approach by some members of the public to set up a working party in the burial ground. It wasn't about any other projects we've got going on, because that's not what this was about. This was blown up by the removal of items from the burial ground, and that's where this stems from. That's where the request came from, and I think in my eyes, part of the request to set this burial working party up was to have control over what was removed from the burial ground and things like that. I don't think it was actually about the general maintenance as such of the burial ground. Councillor Langford-Smith.
Yeah, you're quite correct. Sorry, I went off point. I do agree with Councillor West. The ground staff do the maintenance of the burial ground, and in fact, we took it back in-house because Norse were doing it, and they were not cutting the hedges and keeping them trimmed as we wished them to be. So it was not looking like a beautiful, restful rural burial ground, and that's why we took the maintenance back in-house. So that we could manage it appropriately, and I think that the staff are doing a very good job there at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin.
We could look into to see what we can and cannot do. If we are covered, we could always put a shout out to see who does come forward, and if we do get a group of people come forward, we can then explain to them do's and don'ts, and if they're still interested, they can take it up. I should imagine if we do that, some people might pull out if they can't realise they can't do so much, but at the same time it shows the village that we did try to do something in response to what happened before. Kind of comes myself a little bit, but knowing that in the end we won't have to do as much, so at least we managed to say this is what is on the table, who's interested.
Okay. If I can get Liz to check in with the RFO, because she deals with our insurance, and to see what the situation would be for allowing people to work, members of the public to work in the burial ground, how our insurance would cover it, or if it wouldn't cover it, and that gives us a definitive answer that way. Because I think that really is the crux of the matter, is insurance. And then we can come back to the next meeting with a yes or no, or what hoops we have to jump through for that.
I think we need to go to insurance company, we can go to them until we tell them what we're expecting. So if you just go to insurance company and say we want to work out how much does it cost to get property to work in the burial ground, leave it like they're going to dig straight away, are they digging, are they erecting the
Yeah, no, I think,
are they driving tractors, so again, come back to it, so what are we expecting to do, other than pick litter? You know, what else are we to do? Honestly, I mean, so they're not doing any maintenance, but they're not clearing graves, they're not tidying them, they're not creating any footpaths or anything like that, they're just clearing litter. It's not even we've got a load of graffiti up there, or graffiti off. So it would only be that. Wouldn't it? So that's been enough insurance to continue to pick litter. There's no risk in there, apart from people stumbling over and maybe breaking an ankle if they're not all where they're going. And that's what you're going to get. So I think if you're going to do it, it's a two-pronged attack. I think one is what we do further down the line, and we're going to put on social media and say we're thinking of doing it. What do you, people that ask for it, what do you think, or are you expecting to be allowed to do in there?
Yeah.
And then insurance come back and say, okay, this is what the people look to do, this is what it's going to cost me to insure up to a group of 10 people.
okay, so the thought is that we go the other way then, is to put it on Facebook or on the parish council website and Facebook potentially, that we,
What are you expecting the working parties to be able to do? And let them come back. If they want it, they must know what they want to do.
Yeah, no.
Councillor Smith and Councillor Vickers.
Okay, so we're being asked to create a working party for the burial ground maintenance. That is the work that the ground staff currently do, the maintenance of the burial ground. So that is cutting the grass, that is maintaining the paths, that is popping up the graves with soil when it's dropped, it's putting grass seed over it. That is the maintenance that the ground staff do, cutting the hedges. Are we then going to supply the equipment for the people to do this? I just think we're opening up a massive can of worms when actually it really isn't an issue. The ground staff are maintaining the burial ground. The issue was the fact that we actually used the rules that were put in place back in the 70s and removed some of the stuff. I was up there 2 weeks, a week and a half ago, and yet again there was red wine and there was cans of beer. The staff are removing those type of things because we're not allowed to have those there. The staff didn't do anything wrong, and the furore was because it was put out that we were not allowing flowers, and that was not the case. That was all taken out of context. So I don't actually think there is an issue, and I would be concerned if we hand over a maintenance of our burial ground to a team of volunteers.
Okay, Councillor Clan and West.
Are we able to respond to the member of the public that put this inquiry in and probably ask what's their expectations? What are they willing to get out of it? Because they might already find that's being covered as a way of responding to them.
We can. I think we do have the contact details of the. Liz would have to go back through the records because it was Joe was the clerk at that point.
Proposal, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor West.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Make that proposal if that's something to agree on.
Councillor West, did you have something?
Not only common what I was going to say back up, I agree with you saying it, but I'm not even suggesting that we should hand over the maintenance. And I still don't see any gain from it. But the point is, someone has asked for it, so I'm happy to go back out to the wider population and say, we've been asked for a working party. What would you expect the working party to do? And then they may come back with something that's totally out of the blue and thought about, like, for example, how every month to get some more food tools. I don't know. Anything like that. So at least as they come up with this, we can say, well, sorry, no, you can't buy the practice, you're not going to cut the glass. But I certainly wouldn't want them touching anybody's grave in any way, shape or form. Not removing anything, even if it was a bottle of wine, even if you're talking up topsoil, that's got to sit and maintain with us.
Yeah.
And the same sort of maintenance, right? But it's not going to hurt to see what they think it is. And then when the answer comes back, it's going to be nothing. We're not going to get an answer. I fully believe that. We can't be saying that we've been
Councillor Andreoli.
Yeah, I don't disagree with trying to find out what is expected. I do have a concern that at one point, I have a concern that if we say if we set up a working party, then we will have the people back who used to cut their family graves because, as far as they were concerned, parish council weren't cutting them off enough, and then they'll say, "Well, we're part of the working party." Yeah, it's we literally had people going up there with taking mowers and mowing a grave because, as far as they were concerned, it wasn't being cut often enough. And that is something we can't allow.
Councillor Clay.
I propose we go back to the person who responds to the person who sent in the inquiry and ask them what their expectations are. As far as we know, no one else is aware, no one else is involved. If their expectations come back, which is already covered, then that's our response back to them to say, thank you very much, but we are already taking care of this. We're already taking care of them, perhaps we can explore that avenue, depending on what their expectation is.
I agree, but I also take on board what Councillor West says and shout out to the people, just see what their expectations are. If their expectations are that they're going to go out there with their mowers and strimmers and start grave digging, then clearly that's not that's not viable and it's it's not acceptable. But it might come up with something that we haven't thought of or haven't considered and that we might consider in the future. I think it just sends a message out to the community that we've listened, we've thought about it, we're holding it back to you, and and possibly the same what Councillor Clare says, go back to the person that asked for it. I think maybe that person might respond via social media. I don't know. I just think it sends a message that we're trying to bring the community along with it. We're asking what they want, and we're seeing if there's an opportunity to find some method of meeting both ways.
Okay. I need a proposal from someone. I know we've had a proposal from Councillor Clay, but that was to go back to one person. We've had another one from Councillor West as to go out to the wider public. So we need a seconded proposal for one or the other.
I don't think we need to go out to the wider public just yet. Let's ask this person what their expectations are and go from there. So I'll redo my proposal.
Well, it needs to be a seconded proposal. Or if we either have someone second one of those two proposals, or Councillor Clay has said he thinks we should go out with one, so you can't really marry those two proposals together in my eyes.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but Councillor Clay has purposely said that we go out to the person that contacted us in the first place. Councillor Andreoli.
The only way to solve it is to actually have a proposal and then vote on it, and if necessary have another proposal and vote on it. So I will second Councillor Clay's proposal, so that we can vote on that, and if that fails, then we can possibly have another proposal.
So can I have a show of hands for Councillor Clay's proposal that we go back to the member of the public that requested the working party to ask what they plan to do in the burial ground. Councillor Langford Smith,
Can I add a caveat to that proposal in terms of amendment, in that if that person then puts it on Facebook, the council will not respond via Facebook. We will only respond to people that contact council directly. Because if this then goes on Facebook and we get 180 responses on Facebook, that person will be expecting us to adhere to the 180 people that have responded, as opposed to people that contact council in the proper manner.
I'm a bit confused.
So the amendment is that we
advise in the letter that, or in the correspondence to that person, that they need to liaise directly with council with regards to this matter, and we will only respond with that one person, correspond with that one person regarding the matter.
Councillor Vickers.
Can I ask that then if we vote on Councillor Clay's proposal and then we vote?
No, firstly, we would have to vote on the amendment as to whether we accept the amendment. If we don't accept the amendment, it then either gets added or not added to Councillor Clay's proposal. So we have an amendment that we email the person that was that sent the request in the first place, and they are to only contact us via the official channel, so via email at that point. Is that your proposal or your amendment?
That's my amendment to the proposal, yeah.
So can we have a show of hands on that amendment to Councillor Clay's proposal? We're not voting on Councillor Clay's proposal at the moment, but the amendment. Do we accept the amendment that they reply via the proper channels of contacting council? A show of hands. Yeah. So that was 4 against, 1. Okay. And I abstain from the vote. You got that, Liz? And now we vote on Councillor Clay's proposal is that we contact the person who sent it in to say that what they're expecting from a working party, and that they contact us via the official channels, either email or through the contact form on the website. We're all happy with that. Anyone for that? Against? Okay, that's carried. Yeah, okay. We will look up who the person was and contact them in that manner. Okay, 17.3, benches in the North Field. The grounds team will move the benches back to create a barrier around the turning circle. This I mentioned last time, in the fact that at the moment there are parts of telegraph poles, by the look of it, around the turning circle, which are rotting away, and to give us a bit more room, it was my idea to move the benches back so that they form the barrier to stop people driving in rather than the posts. That is to note.
I've spoken to Sam today and he said they'll do it in March when the weather's better because of concrete and everything.
Yeah, that's great. So look to start doing that in March. 17.4, tree memorialisation. I nearly got it right the first time. A request has been received from SDFS for a tree memorial. The family name Miles and plaque. We advise them that we don't accept memorials at the burial ground or trees there, and we advise them to go at Goodman Fields. Would we agree to a plaque being placed at Goodman Fields on a memorial tree? Councillor Vickers. No,
I go to Goodman Fields every single day, and I'm a bit perplexed that there's been a tree sort of like put in the middle of like where you walk. It's just sort of slapped back in the middle. I think it was a tree. I don't know where it came from. I can only assume that somebody's planted up there for a loved one. So I don't have an issue with the tree at Goodman Field, but I have an issue with where it might be and where the plaque might be as well, because it is just in the most obvious place. And I think that if we are opening the floodgates to trees being planted up there and plaques being put up there, which, I don't really have a view. I just think it's about the locality of where these things are going, because actually it's quite dangerous. I nearly saw somebody crash into it.
And this is a new tree that's...
I think it's a tree that's just in the first field. It's just slap bang in the middle. It's a small sort of sapling. I don't know if it's something's just grown, but it's only been there sort of like a year or so. And I do think somebody has actually just started to put
Okay.
something up there.
Well, I'll ask Liz to ask Sam to find out where that tree's come from.
Yeah, it's there, and that's my concern.
The idea on a memorial plaque, the plaques that are up at the burial ground on trees, they're placed at the base of the tree. They're not hanging from the tree or anything. They are literally put at the base of the tree. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I understand plaques at the burial ground. That's the right place. I don't think Goodman Field is the right place for a plaque.
Well,
It's
this is
primarily a dog walking field, and the people that have the trees know where their memorial tree is. I don't think necessarily you need a plaque.
okay.
They could always donate a bench. That might be a bit more for people to sit down in the field.
I think they were looking at a tree, and that's why they've asked for a tree. And it's up to us whether we say they can have a plaque there or not, and then whether they still want the tree or not. So if we say no to a plaque, they may not want the tree anyway. So it's committee's decision.
I mean,
Councillor Clay and Vickers.
you're talking about one of the small little gold plaques, if I will. It's normally about that big, isn't it? We're talking about one of those small little.
The plaques up at the burial ground at the moment are probably about half the size of my screen.
So like a little snow panel, aren't they? They stick up the ground or gold.
I can't think. I'm not going to get tied down to a colour, but because some of them are black up there.
But similar to that size, we're not talking.
Yeah, we're not talking to a. Yeah, it's not going to be like a house sale sign, not that sort of size or anything. It's a discreet plaque as a memorial. Councillor Vickers.
I'm just worried where this tree might be and the plaque. I just like I agree with Councillor Langford-Smith. I just don't think that Goodman's Field is an appropriate place to be putting these sort of things really, trees and where would the tree go is
Well, the tree could go anywhere around the perimeter or be placed at a sensible place.
But there's like hedgerows and there's no obvious place I would say that they're places for trees.
It is a resolution of council to put memorial trees or any applications for trees at Goodman's. Councillor Langford-Smith.
I agree in terms of where they go. So Seniors Copse is an area of tree planting, so to supplement that would be fine, or along the boundary with Forest Road to supplement the tree belt there. Hampton Road, but to be in the middle of the field, it doesn't seem like an appropriate place to me. So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're not talking about a specific location for a tree. We are talking about whether we accept a tree being planted up there, which could enhance anywhere around that field, but to be determined by this committee at a point or by the head groundsman, but not, obviously we've had comments on not being put in the middle of the field, but it's whether we accept this application to put a memorial tree up there, and then secondly, whether we accept a plaque being put on it. It's a resolution of council that we will accept memorial trees at Goodman Fields. Councillor Weston and Clay.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept both, as long as there's no responsibility enough. If the plaque goes missing and they don't bother for, apart from that, yes, I have no issue with it.
Councillor Clay.
Yeah, once you said that we accept memorial trees, I think that pretty much that goes on with what Gary and Councillor West says. Quite good. I'm happy to go ahead.
So it's a secondary proposal that we accept a tree and a memorial plaque.
But we choose where it goes. Can we have a say where it goes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chair, can I ask that you separate out those two items, because I would be happy to vote yes for a tree, but I don't believe the Goodman Field is the correct place for plaques.
Okay, we'll separate the 2 points out. The first one would be that we accept a memorial tree at Goodman Fields. Is everyone happy that we accept
subject to it, we say where it goes.
Yes, but that's,
No, but we need
Yes.
to put that in, Chair.
okay, subject to the agreement of this this committee as to where it's placed in the Goodman Fields. Is everyone happy with that? Yeah, that's unanimous on that. You disagree?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's carried by majority, 5-1. And now we vote on whether we accept a plaque being put on that tree at Goodman's Fields, a memorial plaque. So can I have a show of hands for those in favour of putting allowing a memorial plaque on a tree that we have placed at Goodman Fields? Show of hands for in favour and against. That's carried against. Okay, is everyone happy with that? Right, 17.5, flower holders request. A request has been received for a flower holder to be cut into an existing memorial stone, is to note. Liz forwarded this to me over Christmas period. It's in one of the, in a cremation plot, that other cremation plots in the same row have already got holes cut through them to be able to stand flowers in. I didn't see a problem with it, and I okayed Liz to give permission. Everyone's happy with that, yeah? Okay. Item 18 is matters for the next agenda. If you've got anything, Councillor Smith.
Do we need the roundabouts at Forest Road planting up back on the agenda?
If you'd
or
like to add
have we
that,
got a previous resolution that still applies?
I don't think we would have. About planting.
Yeah, we had a resolution to put back that which was stripped out by Winchester's contractors, and Winchester paid for it.
Yes, but that would have been more than 6 months ago.
Well, yeah, but it's still valid.
It still stands unless it's been overturned.
Yeah. It
So
was-
nothing to go on the agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 months only applies if you're trying to change it.
Well, we are trying to change what's planted there, so that's
the
why.
resolution was we would put in that which would replace what was taken out.
But my point about bringing it back to committee is we reiterate what should be planted there.
We don't need to. We just
Okay,
need a
that's fine.
resolution.
Thank you. Happy with all that, Liz?
Yes, thank you.
So there's some more